I'm Roger Robertson, and I'm chair of the Edinburgh Competition Festival Association. Normally, we run a festival of competitive and non-competitive classes each year in March. This year we cannot, so we are offering a series of virtual performances by former competitors. These will be preceded by instructive and illuminating talks by distinguished adjudicators. In normal years, we are proud to provide an opportunity to perform to amateur musicians. They perform prepared pieces in front of an audience to a specialist adjudicator, and thus get constructive criticism from an expert who is not their teacher. An important feature of our festival is our concerto competition. The 4 finalists play their movements accompanied by an orchestra at the final concert, and this is a wonderful opportunity for them. The festival is entirely run by volunteers to whom we are most grateful. We are also very grateful to the teachers who show how much they value the opportunities that we provide by entering their pupils, and to the schools that allow them time off to attend. We could not run without the generous support of our members and sponsors large and small, including the Plum Trust and the Anne Clutterbuck Trust. We are most grateful to them. If you feel you can contribute in any way, either financially or by volunteering, please get in touch. Now, please enjoy the performances.
Hello there, my name is Tim Ridley, and in recent years I've been privileged to do some percussion adjudicating in Edinburgh, and also actually some composition in the most recent year, which was very exciting too. Just to tell you a bit about myself and my experiences as an adjudicator, I actually grew up in a very classical environment. And although nobody in my family was a professional musician, I was actually surrounded by music. My dad was a really keen amateur pianist and clarinetist, and he had a massive collection of piano sheet music and LPs. And I was taken to concerts, and particularly the opera actually, from quite a young age. I started piano lessons when I was 6, and went away on holiday with my grandparents. There was no piano for me to practice on, so instead I would practice on the organ in the church next door. I could just about reach the pedals, and by 8 I was playing for services. I took up the cello around that time too, but not possibly for the right reasons. The cello teacher didn't actually come to school to teach, and so you had to take a taxi to their house from the school, and the local taxi was a Rover 3500, a V8, and it was the chance to travel in that car that made me take up the cello. I did actually take the cello all the way through to about grade 7 or so, a few years later. Now, at primary school, I got heavily into Andrew Lloyd Webber. One particular teacher at school really loved Jesus Christ Superstar and Evita, and that's when I started to appreciate the rockier side of music. In particular, in 1977, when Lloyd Webber released his Variations album. John Heisman, the drummer, his astonishing playing on that album convinced me that I wanted to be a drummer. But not at the expense of keyboards, actually. Rod Argent and Don Airey's keyboard work on that album were also totally inspirational. So I started percussion lessons as well as piano and organ and cello. And as a keyboard player, the tuned percussion stuff came very easily, and I was fortunate that my organ playing helped the hand-foot coordination needed for kit, so my playing developed quite fast. From being a musician who'd not really ventured any further into rock than those moments in Lloyd Webber musicals that went very rocky, I started to discover the fantastic virtuosity of the 70s progressive rock musos, bands such as Rush, Pink Floyd, Deep Purple, and of course Colosseum 2, who the latter were the musicians who formed the core of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Variations band. I was in musicals at school, notably as Marta, female part, in The Sound of Music, and as Zebulon in Joseph. But as I headed into secondary, I found I much preferred to be in the band, as either a keyboard player or a percussionist. And bored with percussion parts which were usually provided, I ended up writing totally over-the-top multi-percussion parts for musicals such as Oh What a Lovely War, Cabaret and Guys and Dolls. And for the latter, I was inspired by the English National Opera's then production of Pirates of Penzance, which featured a 2-octave set of boobams, which are kind of chromatic drums. Boobams were, and still are, hard to come by, so I managed to create just over an octave of chromatic rototoms, which is totally inappropriate for Guys and Dolls, but also great fun, and it looked really cool too. Now, if I'm honest, my greatest musical strength has always been my sight reading ability. This I developed because the piano is my primary go-to thing to do. In those pre-phone, pre-multiple TV channel days, I would sit at the piano and read through my dad's sheet music collection, always trying to learn new stuff. And as a result, my sight reading just got better and better. And that is the way to improve your sight reading. Just play loads. Just always look for new stuff. The hymn book was another good one for me, just reading my way through the hymn book. The awkward side effect, though, of being good at sight reading was that I never actually developed a very strong practice ethic. I found I could always blag my way through music lessons by sight reading everything, rather actually than following a path of slow, diligent practice. I got away with this until I went to the Royal Academy of Music in London as a first study organist and second study percussionist, where my tutors saw straight through my attempts to blag, and I was on the stiff end of some extremely direct criticism. I saw the light. By my second year, I saw the light, and my playing improved immeasurably. Even now, as a director of music in a school, I sit in my office and I listen to pupils simply playing through their pieces, thinking that this is practice, and of course, it's not. Identifying where things are going wrong, slowing tempo right down with repeated attempts to get under the skin of awkward passages using fingerings, bowings, stickings, whatever you need to do to help. This is the only way to get pieces learned properly so that they become reliably known. That's also the best way to prepare for performance, of course. Remember that every performance is part of the learning process. Simply coming off stage and thinking that went well isn't actually doing yourself any favours. Of course, acknowledge the good stuff, but there will always be room for improvement, and it's vital to learn the skills of self-reflection. This isn't an invitation to beat yourself up, though, or to think that you can never be good enough. Actually, it's quite the opposite. It's about supporting yourself to always strive to be better while recognising the things that go well. Platform experience, of course, is the absolute key here. The more you can get up on stage and perform, even if just to 1 or 2 people, the better you're going to become as a performer. It's impossible to practice performance by simply playing to yourself. You will make mistakes. Allow yourself the right to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. If you don't put yourself into a position where you can make mistakes, you hamper your chances to improve. And so the most important thing in mistakes is to recognise that the greatest musicians in the world make them. You're not doing anything unusual as and when you go wrong. Don't allow a mistake to throw you, though. Having a sanguine attitude and acceptance that mistakes will happen and that that's okay is absolutely essential. Look back on your mistakes afterwards, analyse them. Why did they happen? Do you need to change fingerings, etc.? What can you do to try to avoid that particular mistake happening again? Now, nerves are a vital part of performing and, again, are a reason why getting up on the platform is so important. You don't normally feel nerves when practicing, but learning how to handle nerves is all a part of the performance process. Accepting that it's good to feel nerves is the key starting point. I remember being told quite early on in my learning process that the day you stop feeling nerves as a performer is the day you need to take a long, hard look at yourself. It usually indicates overconfidence, which is a surefire, quick route to multiple slip-ups, or too casual an attitude to performance, with the danger that your audience will get a sense that you don't care about what you're doing. Nerves improve our playing, they really sharpen us up and improve our sense of connection with the audience. Playing in a festival, of course, is a great way to gain platform experience. It's also a fantastic opportunity to gain insight into different interpretations of set pieces. Of course, our competitive instincts can sometimes get in the way of the more cerebral, artistic side of what we're doing. Music is not only quite a subjective discipline in which to determine success, the facts are that it's rare we will play in identical fashion twice in a row. So please, don't ever enter a class thinking that you're bound to win. In the same way, if you don't win, it doesn't mean that you're any less good a musician than the person who did win. It just means that at that exact moment in time, you played one way, somebody else played another way, and a third musician decided that on this occasion, they preferred the other person's version. Do the whole thing again 10 minutes later, and it might well be the other way around. Not playing for fear you might not win means that you miss out on the vital platform experience, plus the opportunity to learn from somebody who may actually have been a better performer than you, with a really interesting different take on the piece you've both played when it's a set work. I got into taking part in festivals as a performer quite late. In my mid-teens, I decided to put myself in for a couple of slightly random classes at my local festival, the Mid-Somerset Festival in Bath. I went in for a piano sight reading class and a piano accompaniment class, and I was chuffed to win both. The following year, buoyed by my success, I entered about 8 classes feeling hyper-confident, and I didn't win a thing. At the time, I was so disappointed, I can even remember the adjudicator in one class saying to me, "Gosh, you look really angry. Remember, it's only music." You know, and he was right. I was actually really angry because I'd made the cardinal mistake of arrogantly thinking that I was bound to win. I probably, in all honesty, was the better musician there, but I performed with no sense of urgency, no nerves, probably a visible sense of entitlement that would have wound everybody up. Once I was able to take a step away and recognise all this, I learned a vital life lesson, and one I've never forgotten. Not for me, the belief that I must be the best there is. I am much happier as a musician knowing that there will always be somebody better than me. And that's not a problem as long as I can look at my preparation and know that I have worked to my best ability. In a competition, it's just completely random as to whether or not somebody better than me will turn up or won't turn up on that day. Adjudicating and teaching are actually hugely interlinked, of course. Obviously, as a teacher, you're focused on the individual, whereas an adjudicator is having to tread a pathway of comparison with others. But for me, the most important thing is that somebody steps away from a class at which I've been the adjudicator, feeling good that they have gained some platform experience, with some feedback that supports where they're at and tries to give a little advice for moving their playing forward. If they've won or just missed out, it's important to establish why this has happened. I remember playing Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue in the piano concerto class at the Mid-Somerset Festival. I'd worked very hard at the piece, and I'd particularly tried to put my own stamp on it. There are sections written in straight quavers that I decided to swing. It's a jazz piece after all, and the essence of jazz is to be free to do as you wish. Prior to the adjudication, I remember the parents of 2 other competitors sitting in front of me. They didn't know I was there, and one said to the other, "Oh, I missed the Gershwin. Is he any threat?" To which the other parent said, "Oh no, we've got no worries there." I felt so belittled. But I comforted myself that they were probably not musicians and that it was the adjudicator's opinion that mattered. Rhapsody in Blue is about 20 minutes long, and the swung quaver section accounted for around 15 seconds of the entire performance, but all the adjudicator did was talk about how I decided to ignore the composer's wishes and to reinterpret a section inaccurately. No support for all the other playing I'd done, just focus on something that particular adjudicator didn't agree with. He even said, I remember, something along the lines of, "Who do you think you are to change the writing of a great composer?" And the 2 ladies in front of me nodded their heads knowingly. It was absolutely crushing. Every time now that I step out to adjudicate a class, I remember how I felt then. It makes me totally determined that everyone leaving one of my classes needs to feel supported and appreciated. We play music because we love it. We play to other people because we want to communicate this love of music. The very least any of us in the audience can do is to recognise this and respect it. That said, it can be fun when things go wrong. I was watching a piano class once when the grand piano lid suddenly crashed down in the middle of a Rachmaninoff prelude. The lid actually cracked, but it didn't fall apart. But the performer, of course, thought it was their fault and was absolutely devastated. The organisers were quick to point out that it was they who had put the lid on the stick and not the performer. While adjudicating drum kits, I've seen bass drum and snare drum heads split, more dropped sticks than you can imagine. Backing tracks played outrageously loud so that the drums were virtually inaudible. I saw somebody once hit themselves in the face twice with their sticks during the same performance. I saw a kit that kept advancing menacingly across the stage, because there was no carpet for it to sit on. A marimba somebody was playing that just got lower and lower and lower through a performance as it was beaten down by the performer, and the catches to keep it up were obviously just not on tightly enough. I remember a young lad playing a snare drum solo whose trousers suddenly fell down as he hit the final fortissimo flam. That was really quite a laugh. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the performances that follow and that you'll continue to support your local festival. Always remember, getting out there and performing is the opportunity to share your musical soul with others. Don't keep it to yourself. And a final word from me. Apologies for the very seasonal look. It's clear what time of year I'm recording this video, and you're going to be watching it when Christmas is in the past. But I do hope you had a good Christmas, and the very best of luck with your musical future. Bye-bye now.